Jessica Pegula shares one question the media kept asking her that was really annoying. Jessica Pegula has been around the apex of the women's game for so long now, as a consistent threat to everyone on tour. However, despite her continued presence at the pinnacle, the American has just one Grand Slam final to show for it. This still represents a huge success, despite losing to Aryna Sabalenka in the 2024 US Open, as most players will go their entire careers without managing such a feat. In fact, the vast majority of the tour will not even make it to a quarterfinal, which ironically became the stage at which many sections of the media used to berate Jessica Pegula for regularly reaching but failing to surpass. Recently, she has spoken about this narrative. Jessica Pegula's complaint about one media narrative. Having quashed this claim ever since reaching that US Open final in 2024, it's clear that some frustration remains. After all, this was a tired narrative which was run at every single major, with Pegula paying it no mind. She told the Changeover podcast, "I feel like that hoopla was honestly more like other people. Like, I never really felt it, it just kept happening. But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna get over the hump. I was just like, well, I mean, you get to the end of a tournament. It gets really hard. So, I've still done pretty well. I'm still putting myself in that position. It wasn't really, a mental block. It was more, media and everyone talking about it, that kind of made it into a thing. And they're like, what do you think you need to do? And I would always say, I need to win the match and then I'm in the semis. That's pretty much the difference." Pegula then tried to explain that, whilst she was falling at that same hurdle, it was not for lack of trying. She continued, I don't know what else. I'm playing the best girls in the world. It's not that easy to just, think you're gonna fly through a slam. So that, I think, was a little bit manifested. I never truly felt crazy upset about that. But obviously, when I did get over it, I was kind of like, okay, everyone can stop talking about it now because it's annoying being asked a lot of times. Pegula and Madison Keys both named their WTA Player of the Season just last month, and they were both in total agreement. What is Jessica Pegula's best ever run at all 4 Grand Slams? Pegula's consistent presence around the top of the world rankings has come from her ability to regularly reach the second week of slams. As such, she has achieved her best ever run at some majors multiple times. In Melbourne, for example, Pegula has made it to the quarterfinals on 3 separate occasions, in 2021, 2022 and 2023. She will be hoping to return to that stage and beyond later this month, having crashed out in the 3rd round last year. The French Open and Wimbledon have been historically tougher for the American, but again, she has reached the quarterfinal of each event once, in 2022 and 2023 respectively. Meanwhile, her best US Open performance is obviously that run to the final in 2024. However, Pegula followed that up with an impressive showing just a few months ago, where she fell in the semifinals to Sabalenka in a hard-fought 3-set clash. So, what's it like being a billionaire's daughter? Jessica Pegula learned early that microphones have a way of drifting toward the same question. Not her backhand down the line. Not her footwork, sharpened by years of quiet grind. Not the mental recalibration it takes to lose a first set 6-1 and still believe the match belongs to you. Instead, the question arrived dressed as curiosity and passed off as inevitability. What's it like having billionaire parents? Or its many disguises? Did money make this easier? Would you be here without your family? How much did your parents help your career? It followed her from press rooms to post-match scrums, from breakout wins to deep Grand Slam runs. And over time, it became the question that annoyed her most, not because it was offensive, but because it was lazy. The question beneath the question. Jessica Pegula never denied where she came from. She didn't pretend her last name was light. She knew exactly what people saw when they looked at her: privilege before perseverance, inheritance before effort. The question wasn't really about money. It was about legitimacy. The media rarely asked it outright, but it lingered underneath every version of it. Do you really belong here? That's what made it exhausting. Not the curiosity, but the implication that success must be explained away before it could be respected. The years nobody asked about. No one asked about the early losses on outer courts where no cameras waited. No one asked about the ranking drops, the injuries, the surgeries. No one asked about the seasons when she couldn't string wins together and wondered, quietly, stubbornly, if she'd ever be more than potential. Tennis, after all, is an unforgiving sport. It doesn't care about bank accounts once the ball is in play. It doesn't rebate forehands for family wealth or soften opponents because your father owns an NFL team. The scoreboard is brutally democratic. Pegula knew this better than anyone, because if money guaranteed greatness, tennis history would look very different. What it does guarantee is opportunity. And she never pretended otherwise. But opportunity doesn't explain why someone keeps showing up when belief runs thin. It doesn't explain the loneliness of tour life, the repetition, the self-doubt that echoes louder when expectations come preloaded. It's just annoying. When Pegula finally spoke about the question, she didn't explode. She didn't dramatize it. She simply called it what it was, annoying. Annoying because it reduced her to context instead of content. Annoying because it overshadowed the work. Annoying because male players with similar backgrounds were rarely asked to justify their existence in the same way. Most of all, it was annoying because it suggested she hadn't earned her place, even after she'd beaten the very people asking. The quiet rebellion. Jessica Pegula's response was never a rant. It was repetition, practice, match play, incremental improvement. She let her ranking do the talking. She let her consistency rewrite the narrative. While others surged and faded, Pegula became reliable, week after week, surface after surface. Not flashy, not fragile. Present. Top 10 players don't appear by accident. They arrive through accumulation of wins, of lessons, of resilience. Eventually, the questions shifted. They had to. Suddenly, journalists asked about her court positioning, her improved serve, her ability to problem-solve mid-match. The annoying question didn't vanish completely. It never does, but it lost its power. Because it was no longer louder than the results. What the question missed. What the media often missed was that privilege doesn't cancel pressure. It reshapes it. Pegula didn't just have to win. She had to win convincingly. She didn't just have to improve. She had to prove improvement was hers. Every loss risked being framed not as a bad day, but as exposure. That's a heavy psychological tax, one rarely acknowledged. And yet, she stayed. She competed. She built a career that stood on its own legs, not borrowed ones. Beyond the annoyance. Today, when Jessica Pegula walks into a press room, she carries something stronger than irritation, authority. But with tennis,